Welcome, everybody, to the Side Quest for December 14th, 2022, your weekly journey into the wonderful world of video games, video game culture, and me coughing. I'm Dolly, one of your hosts. It is a week. Last week, hopefully you had a good time with us during the Game Awards, which was a lot of fun. This week, it's not the Game Awards. It is just Dolly Demovsky, because everybody else is tired. It's a holiday season, so who knows? Who knows what everyone's doing? That's totally fine with me. I'm just gonna take over the show, have a good time doing it. Talk a little bit about just some of the gaming news of the week and some of the stuff we've been playing. Excuse me. Hopefully, I'm not coughing too much, but it's that time of year, right? Everyone kind of gets nasty. There's definitely stuff going around. It's like a triple whammy, is what we're told. Actually, it's a quadruple whammy. If you got kids, there's a bunch of them. Obviously, COVID's still a thing. There's this flu that's going around right now. Make sure you go get vaccinated for that too, which I did. I'm vaxxed for both and still catching colds and stuff. So I thought, man, is it the flu that I'm catching? No, it is I have a respiratory thing thanks to my weak-ass immune system. So I caught whatever I caught, sinus infection back in September. I think I talked about it before, and now I'm and that kind of took a month and a half, 2 months to clear up. Once that got away, I was all excited. Sweet. I'm home free. I got shots all over me. Let's go. Let's party. Let's mix into groups of like 10,000 people all at once, just bodies arriving. Didn't go so well because, I caught a cold, and that cold manifested into whatever it is now, which is nasty. I'm still hawking up the lung, but whatever. There's all kinds of stuff. And like I said, if you got kids, you're also dealing with, was it the RSV, whatever that is, respiratory thing. Strep is back. So that's a thing. Apparently the measles, kids, some families didn't vaccinate for the measles. So that's flaring up. So there's all kinds of stuff happening. But so basically stay healthy is what I'm saying. I'm doing my best to stay healthy. Yeah, so how y'all doing? Hope it's a good day for you. Hope it's a good week for you. Next week is the end of the pre-Christmas stuff, I guess. Right? You're gonna have your shopping is due the following Saturday. It's gonna be crazy busy if you're doing last second stuff. Here's a hint: don't definitely try to get that stuff done here in the next couple days, because all the shipping, they can't guarantee shipping. Basically, after this Saturday is essentially the last day you'll be able to ship anything if you want to get it there. And then you have to do the expedited shipping anyways. So unless you've ordered something, Amazon's going to be impossible as well. Good luck with that. Unless you somehow have a fulfillment center near you. But yeah, we are in the home stretch of the holiday shopping season and the chaos. So enjoy that. We have been doing a Secret Santa in the SideQuesting Discord, which is a lot of fun. I know for a fact I've got went out and picked up some stuff for my Secret Santa recipient. So I got that all set up, and there's 8 of us in there that are doing it right now. So that's kind of fun. It's really cool. We set ourselves a $25 limit for Secret Santa, because if you go over that, then you're buying you're spending a lot of money on a gift. I think at that point, $25 is you can actually get a lot for $25. You don't have to overthink it. You can get a bunch of $2, $3, $4 things. You can go to the dollar store or Five Below or whatever, Dollar General, pick up stuff. You can get video games at Five Below, maybe even Dollar General. But I know Five Below, you can get a bunch of I was there the other day, and they had a PS5 game. Was it Roller Champion or something? I forget what it was, for $4.99. There you go. If you're looking for a last second gift, go to Five Below. You can get games from there. But for a Secret Santa, you can either get one gift that hits hits 25 or whatever you want to give, or I like to do a bunch of small gifts. I think that's kind of a cool thing. Gives people more stuff to open in boxes. It's up to you, and I'm curious to see who has me as me being the victim. I mean, the recipient of their gifts. That'll be fun. Yeah. Anyways, holiday season. Hope you're watching movies and listening to music. Christmas music is all over our home, in our car. So that's something that we're working to listening to all the time. And watching movies. I think we're gonna start really diving into the Christmas movies. We've seen a few here and there, but I think we're really gonna dive in the next couple days here. Anywho, so but enough of that stuff. Enough of my silly hat and Santa's. The shirt says he knows because he does. So better be nice. Get into a little bit of gaming news, a little bit about what we've been playing. Gaming news wise, I think there hasn't been a ton over the last couple weeks here because there's stuff leading up to the Game Awards. There was it's kind of the holiday season, so you don't see a lot of news generally break. There's no like Nintendo Directs, there's no PlayStation things, there's no Xbox stuff. It's just everyone's kind of finishing up their projects for the year and prepping for the following year, for the next stuff. January, you'll probably start to see some big leaks and things like that start to happen, but big news breaking. But there hasn't been a ton from a game side. Again, obviously the VGAs had some really nice reveals. Death Stranding 2 was awesome, which DS2, which we talked about, and a bunch of other stuff. But I think the biggest news to me, I think over the last week at least, was the Microsoft and Xbox stuff that continues to be a fun thing. So Bloomberg pointed out that Taylor might join me. Look at that. That not only is Microsoft offering the 10 years of Call of Duty to PlayStation, 10-year exclusivity or 10-year ability on the platform, but now they're saying, "Hey, dog, we want to get. We're going to let you have it on PlayStation Plus for those 10 years as well," which obviously it's the equivalent of Game Pass. Blah blah blah. It's actually that's a great deal. Essentially, anybody who has Sony's whatever version of Plus it is will get Call of Duty every year as it comes out, just like you will on Game Pass. Again, a lot of this is so that Microsoft can sort of appease the U.S. government, the European all the different governments of the world, as they're trying to prevent this deal of going through. Some countries have okayed it, other countries, European Union, other places have not. So this is Microsoft's concession, is to do it this way. Now, typically in these situations, you will see these concessions kind of lead to good things. You'll see the lawsuits end. You'll see the deals typically go through. But having this type of scrutiny, I think, is a good thing. Anything over, we're talking billions of dollars here, $69 billion for this one. And I think once you start getting into the billions with a B, there needs to be a lot of scrutiny from all the different sort of financial and analysts and things like that. And I think when you get to tons of money like this one here, where it directly does affect competitors, then you should get the government involved, at least not necessarily making the decision for you, obviously, but making sure all your checks are in, and all your T's are dotted and I's crossed, because you do the scrutinize this stuff. A lot of money. But again, if you're going to throw Game Pass on there, or I should say Call of Duty onto PlayStation Plus, that's very, very strong. Ideally, you'd have Game Pass. Xbox is they're essentially giving away the Xbox Series consoles. It's a 2-year-old console, and they're already dropping that price over the holidays. I think it's down $50 right now, plus for the Series S. Definitely the way more popular console, plus in the US at least. Plus a couple of games and like months of Xbox Game Pass or Live or whatever you get with it. So you're in an extra controller. So you're getting a really good deal with that Series S. And we had heard rumblings that they were working on something sort of in between the Series S and the Series X. Series R for speedy, for racing. But that'll help help more consoles get pushed along. We've also heard that they're doing this streaming thing, which maybe they're the same thing. I don't know. And that's somewhere. So the idea that Microsoft wants to get Game Pass on every platform still seems like the right way to go. But Sony says, no, we don't want Game Pass on there. Sorry. But we will take Call of Duty on PlayStation Plus. So we'll see where that shakes out. In a very similar topic, Mark Gurman over at the Apple Insider of Apple Insiders noted that Apple is looking to follow along with the kind of European law, the request to allow alternate app stores on the on Apple platforms. So think of like an iPhone. Right now, the only apps you can get on the iPhone are through the App Store, or if you try to do a web app type of thing, which sometimes works, sometimes don't. Right now, Xbox Cloud, Project Cloud, is only on iPhone via web app. But imagine being able to have Xbox Game Pass itself on the iPhone. Then you can actually download games directly to it instead of just streaming through. Hey, how's it going, Taylor?
I'm just blown away by this news article that we're talking about.
There's two of them that kind of go hand in hand. This one, I just kind of briefly touched on it. Hey, go ahead. It's basically saying we'll let you put Call of Duty on PlayStation Plus if we let this deal go through, dog.
Guess what? It still won't be enough.
Still won't be.
Not from Sony. No, I think it is enough. I just don't think it's enough for Sony. Sony's going to play. Sony's playing mega hardball. They want every concession that they can get. So it's going to be inch and a mile scenario. Mm-hmm. Microsoft's going to give an inch, or Microsoft's going to give the inch, or what's the
mile?
I know that
you're right. Yeah.
I mean, Sony's asking for a mile; they're going to get an inch.
Exactly.
But it's also like, at the same time, it's also the give a mouse a cookie scenario, where Sony's going to get the cookie, and then they're going to want the other cookies.
How you were reading kids' books like crazy, right?
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, give a mouse a cookie. Wait till you get to the Hungry Caterpillar, which might be Microsoft.
We have 2 books of Hungry Caterpillar. Oh, Thank you very much.
Nice. The one has the hole in it, right?
Yeah, both of them do.
Both of them do. All right, good. No, I think it's an interesting direction to take. Do I think I mean, honestly, initially I went back. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what's interesting about this is that it puts Sony in a back foot in a certain way, because I don't think Sony wants to put it on their subscription service. Right. To be quite honest.
Agreed.
Because there's, from our perspective, we just buy the subscriptions and we just get the stuff. But when you're the publisher, the service host, et cetera, there's a lot of back end bookkeeping, which is overly complex and sometimes doesn't favor the third parties that are receiving the content for it to go. Microsoft largely is doing it as loss leader to try and buy and play in a really relatively nascent space. Yeah. Game Pass, probably for the games that they pay to get it onto the Game Pass service, largely loses them money, most likely. They're doing it to corner the market. So, it's kind of like spits at Sony a little bit to be like, we'll let you put it on Game Pass, or we'll let you put it on what does Sony call it? Not now anymore. I don't remember.
It's
PlayStation.
Yeah.
What?
Whatever.
Spartacus.
Spartacus. Yeah,
Or I think Spartacus was the code name. Anyway,
yeah.
So it sounds like Microsoft is like being the real good guy here, giving them everything they want, but at the same time, it probably doesn't benefit Sony on the bottom line, but it does benefit Microsoft on the perception side of things.
Yes,
which
it really
of
does.
course is what they want right now.
It's interesting because you look at how things have shaken up over the last couple of years here with all the big giant mergers, acquisitions. Microsoft wants to get Call of Duty. I mean, obviously Activision has a lot of games on there, and the mobile space with King, I think, is really key there, and Call of Duty Online mobile. But they want to get Call of Duty. You look at what Sony did in sort of retaliation. They picked up Bungie and they got Destiny, and you haven't heard much of a peep out of that. But Destiny is still a really popular live service game as well.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's huge.
Still, it's still huge.
Destiny in and of itself combats quite. I mean, it's you can't really compare what Destiny does versus what Call of Duty does. Call of Duty drops a game, and even though it's November, hits top number one sales for the entirety of the fiscal year. So, it's kind of hard to compare. But at the same time, the space that Destiny occupies for a large number of players cannot be undervalued.
Correct. Yep. And Sony isn't leveraging that yet. We don't know what they're going to do with it. We don't know how that's going to go forward.
What's Microsoft going to do? Like, this one already got allowed, so it's not like Microsoft can come back and be like, wait, they took away Destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, Sony's not going to say a goddamn thing about it until the merger and acquisition of this is done and dusted. You can't, Sony's not dumb enough to be like, yeah, we're gonna take Destiny away, and that would just give ammunition to Microsoft.
It really would. That would probably get this thing to go through.
It would be so. I want to see it happen just because it would be such a phenomenal flame out of.
Completely agree.
But anyway, it's not gonna happen.
What I think this is, what this shows to me is it makes it very apparent that the amount of money being poured into these AAA milestone games on, especially from Sony's side, they don't really have anything from a indie standpoint to put on a subscription service. Microsoft at least will throw indie games on the Game Pass because it's a good place for it, but Sony can't. Sony still relies on God of War, which you can't get on your Sony service.
Sony can come out and make the same deals. They literally have a streaming service. I mean, whether or not they can technically do it because they lack the technical acumen and background that Microsoft has is, I would argue would be the argument. I mean, that's the argument that I would be making if I'm Sony here. Which is the fact that we can't compete because Xbox is part of Microsoft, which gives them the ability to do this back end stuff for reduced costs, et cetera, and they're not. That's not even part of the conversation,
right?
Which at the same time is understandable. You're talking to the FTC, legislative bodies. You can't make necessarily the most accurate and sound argument because sometimes it falls flat when people are just like, you're trying to wage the war of emotions and public perception. So whether or not that is what's actually doing it is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, it's anyway, it's gonna be a really interesting time going forward with this. We've been saying it every week and every time we record, and it continues. And now, it's like we're just watching a live negotiation between Sony and Microsoft at this point.
It's just extra public.
It is exactly. And this kind of stuff does happen behind the scenes all the time. And I think that's another reason why, you're seeing stuff like Microsoft announced that, hey, by the way, we're gonna put this on Nintendo too. Nintendo's getting Call of Duty as a part of that 10-year plan as soon as this deal goes through, which will be either like some version of Warzone or maybe a single player campaign or whatever. But these negotiations typically take place in the background, and you'll just get a press release or you get some flashy announcement at E3 or something. So to have them spill out this way, I think is just, yeah, it's just pretty funny. But there is other news somewhat related to this, and this is something that I thought was actually really good. And it deals with Microsoft, and it also deals with Epic, and it kind of deals with Apple, because definitely does Apple. According to Mark Gurman, who's I mentioned, he's the insider. Apple's, it looks like they're going to give in and allow third-party app stores in the future. And I think you don't think it's going to happen?
May rely.
May.
Apple, I don't know what Apple truly loses by fighting this fight.
Right. Yeah.
They just hold the cards, man. I mean, like,
yeah.
The main change that's happened recently is the nonsense with Twitter, right?
Yep.
And the stuff about Twitter Blue and Twitter going to 11, that subscription going to $11 on the Apple App Store. But you know what, who doesn't care about that? Apple.
Nope.
Apple doesn't care that a third party raises their price on their platform because of the cut that Apple takes.
Exactly.
So I think if I had to guess, there was rumblings about somebody considering it, and it somehow made it out as a rumor. But it really depends on what the EU does.
And that's what they're saying right here. The Digital Markets and Services Act, which is what the EU is it's supposed to pass, which that's the whole interoperability thing. That's why we're getting USB-C cords and part of it and all that kind of stuff. So there's a big push for that.
There's ways there. It really depends on how well the legislation is written.
Yeah.
If there are holes, they will be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
If it just means that Apple has to offer a single product that's more open, they'll do that instead of saying that it's open across the board for all of their products. Does it have to be any operating system? There's so many unknowns that until we hear exactly how they write it and exactly what the results are, I will assume that Apple will do whatever they can.
There was Gurman made an interesting point in his article on Bloomberg, which was basically, Apple could technically, let's say they allow this to go through, they do this, and they realize that if Xbox if there's an Xbox app or an Epic Game Store or Steam or whatever on this thing, they're going to be out of potential revenue. So they may, I think he put a notice on there that it could be related to, like, maybe there's a fee, maybe there's an annual fee to have and then it's like, go ahead, make as much money as you want, but you got to pay us this licensing fee of however many, dozens or hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on, whatever they decide.
Do not underestimate how much money Apple has and how much money they're willing to devote to lobbying to ensure that the positive cash flow that they keep maintains its current levels.
Agreed.
And it could end up being that if it's only an EU regulation, guess what? You might see two different versions of iOS. I mean, like,
it's not new. That's happened before with the different.
Right, exactly. Unlike hardware,
cards and
software is easier to fork for different worldwide zones. You only want to produce one SKU of a product, but to fork a software is a completely different story. And when the order of magnitude is in the millions, if not billions of dollars, it's worth it for them to do so.
Yep.
So it depends on how it goes.
Definitely. Less businessy news. Let me throw this on here. Couple shorter stories, because again, there isn't a lot happening this week, which is fine.
Probably won't be much for the rest of the year.
And I said that, thank you for joining late. There won't be much for the rest of the year. Thank you for being the only person to join. In other words, no, there's not going to be much news the rest of the year. You're not going to have.
We might get a direct. I heard rumblings for not mainstream, but for
third party or something. So that's what I was sort of leaning to that, because Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster has been rated by the ESRB for PS4
and if we've learned anything from watching the Nintendo Directs, they love putting Square Enix products in every direct that they can, whether it's third party or not, to be honest.
Agreed.
So it's certainly no reason to believe that this is an error. The fact that it's all I love that we get to continue to joke about it, because it was only rated for Switch, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And PS4.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't understand.
Don't know why yet.
It's so bizarre.
So Sony or Square Enix has a love affair right now with the Japanese companies, right? So they got Octopath Traveler 2, the part 2 of the game of the year from like 10 years ago, right? The one that I kept playing over and over again.
You couldn't stop.
You couldn't stop. The second game is only Switch and PS4. It's not Xbox. It's not PC yet. So
it's not even PS5.
It's not even PS5. So and I think you can get away with just doing PS4 because it works on PS5 for the most part.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So for now, I think it's okay. There really isn't a reason. In this case, it's really PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. But it
just really sucks for the folks that have PS5s, because granted, on something like the Pixel Remaster, there's not going to be any functional difference between the two. But for other ones where there could theoretically be a fidelity change or a frame rate change, you force it into the
controller stuff or the 3D whatever,
into the dog shit upgrade ecosystem that Sony's made for the PS4 to PS5, which sucks. I feel that pisses me off. Anyway, this is a no-brainer. Pixel Remaster. Was it only PC?
It's only on PC. Only is it Steam and Epic
EGS?
Or EGS maybe? I'm not sure. Yeah, and like
one of the single most and I'm the guy that says please, specifically on to folks like Square Enix, please bring your games to PC.
Yeah.
And it's one of those moments of like, no, not like this. You're gonna make us look bad.
The issue though is that we're gonna have the crappy font with this on console,
that's the
and mod it on PC.
This was the first thing that I thought of
me too.
when I saw that it was rated, was like, ooh, sucks for them, because they get no recourse for the font selections on the Pixel Remasters.
This again, I also kind of heard rumblings there may be a partner direct as early as, what day is today? Wednesday. It may be something that just drops tomorrow, like at 9 a.m.
I was gonna say they'll either announce it tomorrow morning and they do it in the afternoon, or the night before into the next morning, one or the other.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's
really
too late today already for doing it tomorrow, but
they haven't really done much on Fridays before. So if there was going to be
I see what you mean. If it was going to be this week, it's going to be tomorrow.
It'll be tomorrow, and they're just going to drop it, which they've done before with the partner directs. And if it's going to be next week, they'll announce it on Monday and drop it because you're way too close to the holidays at that point.
Yeah. They do not want to push it. Wednesday is already too late, basically.
And this will be this will be day and date. Hey, these are announced, available today, because they want to get the stuff out before the holidays. This is a good way to
the
make
last gasp.
The last gasp, make some chunk. kind of the sales on the digital platforms are kind of wrapping up here pretty soon. They try to get those all out like the week before Christmas. So that forces you to spend extra cash because you waited too long. Sorry, me. But so yeah, you'll see stuff like this. You'll see, whatever. I'm completely guessing. I've only heard rumbles as well, but I'm excited for these to show up. I love having these. I love having Dragon Quest, classic Dragon Quest games, which I only play them on the 3DS. And I think Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are on the Switch, but they're the weird iOS versions, which are just kind of
I mean, Square Enix got into that really bad habit for a minute, where they were, they did a bunch of iOS ports, charged a shit ton of money for them on, and never put them on sale, which was fine. That's up to them. How many times over the past 10 years have we been like, don't stop devaluing your games on mobile stores. But anyway, the biggest issue is that then when they decided, hey, you know what, modern consoles should also be able to play these games. When was the last time we ported them? Oh, it was to mobile. All right, let's use those. And
let's just use those.
No, but yeah,
looks like a Flash animation, which is basically what it was. But yeah, no, this is good news, and a lot of us. I mean, it's obvious news for the folks that have wanted to play this outside of Steam Deck. I only talk about Steam Deck now, by the way. I don't even think about Steam is not on any PCs or Mac. It's only on the Steam Deck. So don't think of it anywhere else. Just work on the Steam Deck. But no, it's good news. Obviously, I think keep putting content on these platforms, and hopefully we'll get a new Nintendo Switch next year. Which God, that just seems obvious at this point, right? I mean, the thing is like you're still selling a ton. We saw those numbers come in. You're still selling a ton of Switches, but you're no longer being the consistent top dog anymore. Right? I think PS5, quote unquote, won November. So Switch is obviously still ahead for the year because there wasn't any consoles for the other ones. But it's sales wise, the Switch is cooling off. Even the
that's the biggest thing is that the trend. The trend is down. So
you got to get and those fancy. The problem, I was looking at that Splatoon one. I thought, that Splatoon one looks pretty dope. I would buy it. Gone. I mean, it was in and out so quick. Same with this Pokemon one that was gone. Nintendo should keep those suckers out longer because they have a horrible habit of putting out products that people really want and then saying it's only timed like that. The original Fire Emblem game, right? We
critique him about it, but it keeps
Why
working.
Aren't they listening?
So because they get to control exactly how much product is, especially on the physical side. They get to control exactly how much product is made. They always know the exact numbers because they can count on 100% sell through. Yeah,
and true. They're the only company that can really do that. Yeah, it's like no,
and it's just such a valuable P&L strategy on the booking side, on the financial side, to be able to say this is how much it's going to cost for us to make it. This is how much we're going to sell it for. It's going to sell through 95 to 100%. This is how much we're going to make on this operation. Yep. And you get to take that back to your financials and be like, yep, we're going to make literally, it's like almost for sure we're going to make this much money off of these specific endeavors. And that they're going to keep doing it because that's very valuable.
Very, very. And it's Nintendo for you. Speaking of Nintendo, the last little bit of news that I had, which was just kind of a fun thing. We finally have a date for the opening of Super Nintendo World.
Yay!
Which is February 17th. I took the sound off of this so that we don't get tagged by YouTube. But yeah, February 17th.
This is in Orlando?
Universal in Hollywood.
In Hollywood, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Playland. I walked this nice. But it's someone's going down the tunnel. No.
I was trying to think about what warm place would be opening in February.
In California, where it's always warm.
it's a kind of rough time to open a. Even in California, I mean, obviously it's still like fine.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly the let's go to the amusement park season.
Right. I'm totally excited for, and you know what's going to happen is this is perfect timing for this because of it's going to drive stuff for the movie like you wouldn't believe. Oh,
but
God,
but now that I'm thinking about it, if you're trying to launch a console in the first half of the year.
Man,
maybe they really wanted to make sure it opened before March.
Before March, you got it. No, it's very cool situation. I don't know. JJ and I are already planning on making it out there whenever we can. E3 media registration just went live, so I put in my my request. So if they give me the thumbs up, if I get that media go ahead for E3, I'm booking a day before so I can head over to this sucker.
Yeah, you and every other person.
Me and every other person that's going to E3. That's it for news. It was again real light news week. We can talk real briefly about what we've been playing. I have something I've been playing, and it's a game that everybody already knows about. It's a game that came out earlier this year, and I already played it on my Steam Deck, which was Vampire Survivors. I'm playing it now on my iPhone. Which after they dropped it on at the Game Awards, right? And I downloaded it, started playing it, and man, between that and Marvel Snap, which I've also put in a hell of a lot of time, God Almighty, they're like just the perfect bathroom games. They really are. Those two games on this platform is where those games should be in terms of just sitting and just like you're pooping. And just watching your little guy. Just
give me a does the save sync?
I don't know. I don't.
Give me a save sync and I'll double dip.
There you go.
I'll double dip if you give me a save sync.
Yep. No, it's so good. Playing it again and God, it gets to the point with Vampire Survivors that the game can sort of play itself for long periods if you have the right weapons equipped, the right attack power. And then you can sit there and watch it for 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes. And it's like the guys just blowing everybody up. And then finally, when some of the later rushes start to happen, then you're like, okay, I got to actually move and start to do things. But it's such a satisfying thing when you can let it play itself. It's almost like it's like a bizarrely satisfying like watching a Twitch stream of a waterfall and salmon like just jumping. It's like, this Vampire Survivors at that point becomes salmon. So I still love it. It's just a great, stupid indie game, and it's free, which is awesome. Obviously, buy stuff on there. And then Marvel Snap. Can't stop playing Marvel Snap. Johnny Wags, who many of you might know, he got me on the new Agatha Casino. Does the Agatha Casino, which really is. Hand, and you just have to play, and gosh darn it, I win like 70% of the hands, and the times that I lose, I quit, I retreat, which I'm much more able to accept doing now than I did before. So, but yeah, it's Marvel Snap, man. The Marvel Snap and Vampire Survivors maybe in my top 5 for the year, which is just so weird to say because it was one of those odd years when I was at my desk working the majority of the time. Vampire Survivors on the Steam Deck, Marvel Snap on my phone, and now I got Vampire on my phone as well. So it's just two perfect little games, perfectly stupid little games. What are you playing, Taylor?
One perfectly, extremely complex. Game. So I picked up. This is a news story in and of itself, which is that Dwarf Fortress had its Steam release.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, it has been out and in existence as an ASCII art freeware for going on 20 years. But they did the official Steam release for $30, and they surpassed over 320-ish thousand sales, and that was 2 days ago. So I don't know if there's been a specific comment from KitFox, the publisher, since then, but I would assume it's still higher. And so that is it's a lot of sales for a, this is the indie of indie games, right?
Yeah,
two guys who just built a game for 20 years, and basically didn't do anything else. Lived off of basically Patreon donations since Patreon was released.
I'm looking at videos from like 2-3 years ago that says the evolution of Dwarf Fortress from 2006 to today, from like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Here's a Dwarf Fortress intro remastered from 7 years ago. Oh my goodness! I mean,
we're talking. There are a few games that have as much living history as Dwarf Fortress. Because there are plenty of games that have maintained relevance or even popularity for since the early 2000s.
Yep.
But none of which have also been actively developed upon for that entire time as well. And it kind of stands alone in that regard. But anyway, so I have been playing that game a lot. I probably can't tell you what my Steam playthrough is, because it's really easy to pause the game. And in my current life, being able to pause and walk away on a game that doesn't really tax your computer very much means that I have a lot of game time that might not reflect how long I've actually played the game. It says I have 34 hours in it. There's almost no shot it's actually that much, but we were having the conversation about what an esoteric game is, and Dwarf Fortress is the actual esoteric game. It is the game where you have to be within the circle of knowledge to understand it, and to be outside of it means that it can be almost impossible to understand what the hell's happening, and that was even more so before the new version got released. So this is the ASCII art version, which is what's actually nutty to me is that I knew it was minecarts. Having played the new, so I never played the original version. And we'll get to have this conversation again when Zach joins, and we literally have when we get to have the same conversation again with Zach here too. But I never played the ASCII art version. But what was nuts is that I've watched videos of it before, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But now that I've played the Steam version, I just watched that clip of the ASCII art, and I was like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. It was clear. It was completely clear to me exactly what was happening. And it's I did not expect that to be the case, but it's like, oh yeah. So I mean, like, I can tell there's a storehouse there. It's so bizarre how easy it is to tell now.
I love it. I've seen the MOBA.
I mean, that was another story. There was back in, I think it was about 2012. There was an event at the MoMA that I went to, that a bunch of joystick people also went to back.
Oh yeah, I remember you guys going to that. Okay.
Back in the day when rest in peace. But yeah, no, that I think it was there at that time. It must have been. There's no way it wasn't there.
Sure.
But anyway, Dwarf Fortress. It is. I don't know. I mean, it's the closest thing to a living game environment that you can deposit yourself into.
I'm gonna play this eventually. It added to the list of games that I'm gonna play. But this game specifically looks and feels like it's a completely different type of experience, and I think that's what is intriguing. You guys, so for the running joke is Dolly has not played a bunch of games because of whatever. He's old and time and yada, old man. So the guys have a list of games for me, like Half-Life 2, all the episodes, Symphony of the Night. Yeah, the list goes on and on. World of Warcraft. But this one wasn't on the list because I think the team just kind of felt
this one
it's a very different kind of game. Yeah,
as important as it is, and as I don't know, monolithic as it is, despite its kind of, I mean, it's monolithic, but it's like the tiny monolith.
Yeah, tiny monolith. I like that.
There's nothing wrong with having not played Dwarf Fortress.
Imagination feel a really good way to say it. Yeah.
The only thing that's wrong with any opinion about it is to say that it doesn't matter, or to say that it has not influenced games, or that it's not unique. I like those would be the things where I would kind of interrupt you and be like, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to do a lot of explaining, and it's gonna have to be good. But other than that, I mean, I certainly didn't feel weird about not having played the ASCII art version of this game.
Sure.
I don't fault anybody for doing it. Like I said, to go from this backwards feels fine. To just jump into the ASCII art version is just like, it's just less enjoyable, to be perfectly honest. So, but speaking of, you mentioned Symphony of the Night, and I actually did finish that video.
Oh, interesting.
It's just this past weekend, I want to say.
Nice.
Yeah, good video game. Interesting, and it has a fake out ending, which was
famously
different.
Has that fake out ending. Yep.
Kind of different for its time. I think that the fake out ending should be harder to do. I found the battle to achieve the fake ending very easy, and the way to progress towards the real ending is not clear in any capacity. With the exception being, did you really explore everything in the castle? Like that's the criteria for knowing whether or not you did it.
You're like, oh crap! Just telling me that means I gotta go back in.
But at the same time, this Symphony of the Night existed in the peak era of video game magazines, and the peak era of strategy guides, and the peak era of sharing game stories at, in the cafeteria, dining hall, nascent gaming forums online. So that's that. I can see that if I had been playing this at the time, that's where I would have found out about it.
Sure.
I probably wouldn't have even checked GameFAQs. I would have heard somebody talking about it. I would have bought the guide. I would have read about it in a a little blurb article. Did you actually get to the ending of Symphony of the Night? And like that's how you would know that there was something that you had to do. And it brought me back to that moment. But that being said, so cool. the second half of it feels a little sluggish. It's one of those things where, like, again, you're back in the time where you're getting 2 games a year, and we're gonna make sure that you play a lot of this one. That's kind of like what it felt like to me, but it's good.
It's I own it on 2 different places. I own it on Xbox, I think, through like Xbox Live or whatever it was. So I have it somewhere. Was it on there?
I don't.
No, it's fine. And then I also own it on. I think I got it from. I got it on PlayStation Network on my PlayStation TV little device, downloaded to a card, which was basically a Vita that you plug into your TV, which is a cool device. Sony was so close to making the Switch.
It's such a shame.
It's such a shame.
PlayStation TV could have pivoted into such a, I don't know. Yeah, I'll talk all day on it.
Might need to plug that back in again.
They blacklisted a bunch of random games on the PlayStation TV for no reason. Because they still worked on PS Vita. I have to assume it was for HDCP purposes, the high definition copyright protection stuff. They maybe didn't get all the approvals from everybody that they needed to, or they just couldn't, or what, and so they just said, nope, you can't play these games. Except then people found like really, really easy way to mod PlayStation TVs, and opened up the blacklist entirely. But it would have been, it was such a, it could have been the start of mini console stuff, and they pooped it.
Sony tends to be.
I mean, the Vita shouldn't have died either, but
it shouldn't have died either. Nope, it should still be out there. Because I think you could, where they had that like away feature for the PS3 to the Vita, where you could stream PS3 games to the Vita.
It worked for PS4 too,
and it worked. And it worked for PS4. And I thought the rumblings were that it was going to be for PS5 and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like it would have been such an easy. It's such an easy pivot to PS Vita 2.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And they could have like it ties in with this streaming. Like, I don't know. There's unfortunately they missed the market on a bunch of stuff. They released a 3G version of the Vita, which was really silly. I have one.
Nice.
I tweeted from it once, I remember. But I could talk about the Vita for an entire episode.
Yeah, we could. But we're not. But we are going to talk about one last thing.
Please.
Snack questing.
What do you got?
So last week, obviously, I had Four Loko. It was not a good thing. And I had, not only did I have Four Loko, but I had pizza, and I had peanut butter M&Ms, and I had the Twizzlers, pull and peel Twizzlers.
You're a happy guy.
Woo. This week, I have Wrap Snacks Wavy with Lil Boozy's Louisiana Heat Wrap Snacks.
Yet again. I'm sorry that Zach's not here. Yet
again. It's Best Buy April 2, 2023. They're basically wavy potato chips with some spices on top and stuff. Now, this is a very common thing. A lot of hip hop folks will partner with different companies. Like, let's see, this is Badass Music Syndicate that's working with them. Wrap Snacks, I don't know who they're owned by. Oh, it's James Lindsay is the president and CEO of Wrap Snacks. But there are companies out there that you can partner with to we gotta get a side questing snack out there. So you're seeing this more often. Here's what it looks like. It looks like a potato chip with Louisiana Heat. Let's give it a shot. Could you hear that?
Oh yeah. No, you're good.
Speaking of good, they call it Louisiana Heat, and it's got the right type of heat. Mm-hmm. It's not like fake, like overly spiced ghost pepper style heat. This has, it's interesting. I'm actually feeling it up in my nasal cavity a little bit. Okay. Which is kind of nice. It's almost like a cool heat. Does that make sense? It's like there's the spice at the back of my tongue, but then it makes its way up to my nose heat-wise. And taste-wise, tastes like every other wavy potato chip that has barbecue sauce or whatever else on it. But good. I like it. You know what? Thumbs up for me. Lil Boozy's Louisiana Heat. It's just like the perfect amount of heat. It's like a medium Thai chicken when you go on the heat scale, which is just enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Just enough to like get the back of your throat to tingle a little bit, but not to make you like your nose drip or anything. I'm gonna be snacking on this. Thank you, Lil Boozy. Thank you, Wrap Snacks. You have not sponsored us
for making the product.
For making a product that I saw while waiting in line at Best Buy to pick up something and I bought it. But yeah, that's that. Anyways, that's it for this week's episode of the Side Quest. Thank you, Taylor. Taylor? It was Taylor?
That's me.
Thank you, Taylor. Taylor. You go by Taylor. It's okay to call you Taylor? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Taylor.
Still,
Taylor
yeah.
Bliss. And always a pleasure to chat with you. And thank you to all of our viewer.
I believe I'm Dal E.
Dal E. Yes, I'm the AI. And you can find us at sidequesting.com, SideQuesting TV over at YouTube and Twitch, SideQuesting on the major platform that we all know, which is Mastodon, and most importantly, the Discord, where we're having a ton of fun with the Secret Santa. So I am excited to see what everybody is going to get. For me, and I talked about it right before you logged on, Secret Santas to me aren't the actual gifts. It's you're taking time out of your day to buy for someone that you wouldn't have normally bought for, right? And I think that to me is like, seriously, who's ever got me a box full of confetti is totally fine. I will open that and I'll be so happy. Throw some M&Ms in there, that's so stale M&Ms and like half licorice or half lip.
Can't wait for you to open what I got you then.
There you go. But yeah, no, it's I love it. I love opening presents. So even if it's something silly like that, I think it's fun. I think that's the point of Secret Santa. We get a good limit as $25. Like I said, you could actually get you could go about it a few different ways. You can get a bunch of small, like $2, $3, $4 gifts, or you can get one bigger gift that however much you want to spend up to 25 is up to you. So, but yeah, it's fun. I'm excited. We'll have to do I don't know if we could do, maybe we can open it online. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to figure it out. We'll chat.
Yeah, we would have to do it a little bit more anonymously if we were to open it up further.
Well, it would be anonymous. Like, I could open it and see what I got, but I wouldn't know who sent it. So at least that,
you know. Yeah, I'm talking about so when you get it big enough, you don't want to give everybody's address out to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a lot of fun. I think next week we might do our games of the year. So we'll have to talk about our 5 favorite games. Say we'll do that episode. So we'll ask you, the lovely viewers and listeners.
Yeah, thanks Dwarf Fortress for coming out just in time.
Thanks for Dwarf Fortress coming out right at the right time. Should have been during the VGAs. That would have been the top one, but yeah, it came out at the right time, and might be showing up on a lot of lists. But yeah, we'll talk about that next week on the SideQuest. Bye.
Bye.